This is the Mobile Home Park Lawyer Podcast with Ferd Neiman. If you're looking to generate wealth and passive income in the lucrative world of mobile home parks, you're in the right place. You'll discover solutions to the common legal and operational pitfalls and how to optimize parks to maximize income. Your host is in the trenches. He's a real estate attorney, financial analyst, and mobile home park investor and operator. Now, let's turn it over to Ferd Neiman.
Welcome back, Mobile Home Park Nation. Ferd Neiman here again today with another episode of the Mobile Home Park Lawyer Podcast. Got an exciting guest for you today. I've been able to work with this guy on a couple of projects. Exciting to hear his views on economics, underwriting, industry in general, and just get to share him with our audience. Please help me welcome my guest, Bryce Robertson. Bryce, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, Ferd. Great to be here, mate.
Yeah, good. Obviously, we can tell from your accent you're not from Kansas City, but tell us a little more Tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got into MHP space.
Yeah. So, born and raised in Australia. Then I got to the end of high school and I realized I do not want to do the university path. And so I had no idea about entrepreneurship or business at the time. So I went out there and I got a blue collar job and the highest paid I thought I could get when I was a steel fabricator welder. So I did my apprenticeship. And once I finished my apprenticeship, I went out to Western Australia and worked in the underground gold mines and working like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Saving up a bunch of money. And then I got to the point where I wanted to leave Australia and travel the world for 6 years. And I did exactly that. Here's how I did it. I started off in London. That was my first base camp. And I would work there, sometimes 12, 14 hours a day, even 7 days a week sometimes, work for like 3 months, save up a whole big chunk of cash, then go traveling through Europe. And then until my money ran out, and then I would come back and I would do the same cycle in Africa. And so I did like UK, Europe, and Africa for about 3 years. Then I wanted to change the scenery. So I went to a small little ski village called Fernie in British Columbia, Canada, in the Rocky Mountains. And I got right into my snowboarding, downhill mountain biking. I had my own little business out the coal mines, and then I was firefighting there as well. And I was so consumed with the activities that I was doing there that I didn't really travel anywhere else. And that allowed me to save up a big chunk for 2 years. And then I ended up taking that money and I took an 18-month surfing and scuba diving trip down in Central and South America. And in the last 6 months of that trip, that's where I met my wife, who's a native of California. So naturally, we ended up in America. And when we ended up in America, we just made a commitment with each other. We wanted to recreate this type of freedom lifestyle, except this time we wanted to do it, number one, so not only our money doesn't run out, but number two, so our money's growing while we're traveling and having fun and doing the things we want to do. So I started off. We looked at the three main ways that we can make big bucks. That's owning a business, stock market. I think cryptocurrencies would fit into that category too now, and then real estate. And in the beginning, I did about 7 different side hustles, just hoping that one of them would take off. But I realized I was spinning plates. I was spreading my energy too thin and I was having mediocre success. So I realized I have to stop and focus on one thing. I knew it was going to be real estate because at the time I had a 20-year background in construction and construction management. And, but what am I going to do in real estate? So I looked at all the different asset classes. I looked at mobile home parks, self-storage, single family, fix and flips, wholesale, notes. I looked at all of them, the financials, how it all works. And over again, mobile home parks just kept standing out to me. The need for affordable housing, supply and demand in massive favor of park owners, not that much competition compared to other asset classes, higher cash flow, higher profits, better tax benefits. I was in. So I laser focused on mobile home parks and then told the universe, it's a mobile home parks only. You can throw anything at me, I'm going to say no. And I started all of a sudden getting these multi-family and single family deals that had never come across my table before. And it was my test to say no to those things. I said no. And a couple of months later, I got my first mobile home park under contract. But when I did that, I was not in circumstances that you would think would be ideal to purchase a mobile home park. I had a negative net worth. I had $2,000 in the bank and I had unseasoned credit because I hadn't been in the States long enough. So I ended up leaning on family and friends to bring in the capital to fund that deal. And then 3 months later, we ended up getting the deal across the finish line. And then once I got that deal across the finish line, I felt like I was 10 foot tall. I felt like I conquered and done the impossible. And I also learned there's this amazing way to do deals through syndication by bringing investors in where they can passively invest in a deal. I can do all the hard work. Everybody wins. So I ended up rinsing and repeating that process for the next 2.5 years. And then my wife and I became financially free. I retired ourselves. We no longer had to work. We worked because we choose to, not because we have to. And it just radically changed our lives, and we haven't looked back.
That's awesome, man. That's a fun story. That's inspiring too. Great to see. I'm with you on trying to be laser focused on MHP because it's definitely got those benefits that you mentioned. I'm curious though, when you moved countries so much, did you just find random jobs, or did you use your steel fabrication job? Like when you're in Africa, did you use it there? When you're in London, did you use it there, or did you just do whatever you could to make a buck, at that time?
I was only working in London and in Canada, and I was leaning on my steel fabrication and welding. And then when I was in Europe and Africa, I was just traveling, Okay. When I was in Central and South America, I just like surfed and scuba dived every day. And so technically I was a dive master, but you can't really call that a job, dude, because I was like scuba diving 4 times a day and just loving my life. So.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I got another friend that had a similar story, contractor, and said, I'm going to travel, and just did it. That's awesome. It's great to see you've got into this asset class. I think you're right that the competition's less, the tax benefits are better, the financials are better than other alternative real estate or other alternative investment options. What are you seeing though in the last year? I mean, you mentioned the last 2, 3, 4 years, the industry, as we all know, has changed considerably from a competition standpoint. A lot of private equity, a lot of REITs are buying up all kinds of, lots of new entrants from the minor league guys to the major league guys. What are you seeing on your end? And then how has it impacted your underwriting on deals?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're seeing a lot of competition. One of the things though, that was actually working to our benefit last year was that, there's more competition, but it's not necessarily mobile home park experienced competition. So brokers were coming to us last year saying, hey man, we've got a park that fits your criteria. It's fallen out of contract a couple of times. Honestly, the number one thing for the sellers is they want someone that they know can drive the deal home and get closed on the deal. And so we ended up winning like 2 or 3 deals last year just because of that, because there is other people out there that are bringing their evaluation methods from self-storage and, other multifamily apartments and other asset classes, which in my opinion don't apply to evaluating a mobile home park correctly for purchase. And they're bringing those skills to the table, and then they're paying essentially overpriced, lower cap rates, higher price for these parks, driving cap rates down and prices up. But there's a lot of people that aren't closing on these deals for one reason or another. So yes, there's more competition, but there's not really like tons of qualified competition. So I kind of still feel like there's not really that much competition. The main thing that we're actually taking into consideration in our underwriting and our approach to acquisitions and our whole business strategy is conservative underwriting. Because on the side, I actually study macroeconomics because I'm always trying to find out for my investor group and for myself what the highest probabilities and possibilities are, so that we can kind of mitigate those in advance and put ourselves in the best position to be profitable, because our entire business is revolves around recession resistant investing. So like the times that we're experiencing right now is times where mobile home parks can really perform. There's a lot of things happening out there, things that are unknown. So in our underwriting, for example, we did a couple of deals last year where we purchased, and at year 3, we do a refinance, and then our investors get cashed out of the refinance and they stay in the deal for like 5-7 years. Well, at that refinance point right now, we can get financing for those circumstances. We're probably in the high 3% range, maybe low 4% range. But we've been underwriting at the 3-year mark for the interest rate to be 6%. And we've also added on an extra 1, maybe 1.5, and sometimes 2% to our cap rate on our refinance or on our end liquidation event, just so that we can mitigate for cap rates increasing. and actually going back up again, and interest rates increasing. And we also have doubled all of our construction and labor and materials costs just in case we see a massive price inflation. And we're also underwritten, so most of our construction gets knocked out in the first 12 months. So we're kind of mitigating that risk as well. We've doubled our property taxes. There's just a lot of things that we're doing to basically mitigate ourselves should these certain things come to fruition. Now, are all of them going to come to fruition? Highly likely not. And the most important thing to us is when we're projecting returns to our investors is that we're going to at least meet what we projected, if not exceed. And unfortunately, so far, we've got a 100% track record of exceeding our projections.
That's great. No, I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, yeah, I've seen it happen with a lot of people. Their assumptions are so aggressive, and some of my clients, for example, will just hire me, hey, just do the paperwork. Some of them will say, hey, underwrite my deal with me. Someone will say, give me operational strategies. But I've had some where I've seen their financials and guys that are junior in experience to me, junior in net worth to me, they'll have refinance cash out assumptions in there. And I'll say, where are you going to get that loan 6 months in and take that cash out? He goes, I can't get that loan. And they're like, oh, why not? What should we do? I'm like, you've already told your investors, yeah, we're going to push the rent. We're going to fill 10 lots in 6 months. We're going to refinance. We'll take all the money out. I'm like, you're going to get this. It's not big enough for Fannie Mae, and it's not going to be seasoned enough. It's a local bank's not going to give you that cash out that fast and that 80% cash out. And they're like, oh, so they did the opposite of what you're doing. You're mitigating future problems that are perhaps outside of your hands, like macroeconomic conditions of interest rates, but which is prudent. But these guys were doing was, being overly aggressive. And it's in my opinion, it was statistically impossible for them to meet their projections. And
in my opinion, that's not sustainable. If they're bringing investors in on the mix, as soon as they screw up the first deal, then investors aren't going to invest with them anymore. And they've pretty much burnt their name in the industry. In addition to that, they're probably going to have to reach a point, maybe 1, 2, 3 years into their business plan, realize they massively messed up. And now they're going to have to liquidate, maybe even take a loss for themselves. And I think that because of that, we're going to see quite a few more parks come back on the market because people realize they got in over their head or didn't have the right assumptions up front.
I agree. I think that's the next cycle. I mean, the ma and pa owners are going away for professional owners on a regular basis, but you're right, with people coming from other asset classes, some of them have improper underwriting, and they're going to either A, realize they can't hit their projections and meet their investor yield, or B, they're going to realize there's a lot more active work than passive investing involved in this business. And I think as a result, the next cycle, 2-3 years from now, is going to expose some of those guys and bring more assets in the marketplace. I've personally invested with one group that this has been their problem. Unfortunately, I was required to invest because I sold them a park, so I had to keep some money in the deals. Otherwise I wouldn't have. But they've been kind of bailed out by decreasing cap rates and better industry forces. So it's like, even though they screwed up 3 years in a row, they kind of got lucky timing. But at this point, you're not buying at a 9 cap, so you're not very easily on market. So you can't. If you're buying at a 6 and your underwriting assumptions were incorrect, the market changes probably aren't going to bail you out. Yeah,
I agree with you on that one, mate.
Well, based on your underwriting, I'm hearing what I think is prudent but conservative, and then if you add conservative plus conservative, it's doubly conservative. What's that do for your deal flow? My assumption is there's a lot of deals that you got to look at and pass on because you're going to not be the high bidder. So are you finding deals off market, or are you finding deals on market that others, if for some other reason, have avoided?
Yeah, we're finding deals on market and off market, both. So the on market deals, we're actually, one, we've got a presence in certain geographical area. We've got a name at these brokers. Some of them know that we put in lowball offers and just kind of wait until the right part comes with us. And then they let us know. And then others they're just cool with us putting in lowball offers and see if something sticks. And so, yeah, we're underwriting. We're saying no to tons of deals. And then the right deals come along. So, I mean, we're still got good deal flow. We're just very picky about it. And when we're doing our underwriting, first and foremost, it needs to check out for our investors. If we're not going to meet our investors' returns based off our ultra conservative underwriting, and there was things that I didn't even mention before, like if we if we think that we're actually going to take 18 months to execute on our construction business plan, we're going to underwrite that it's going to take 3 years because there could be things out of our control. So we're massively quicker on our timelines too than what we actually underwrite. But yeah, look, we just say no to a lot of deals, but then there's some deals that just may be in our geographical area that wouldn't work for another operator, but because we got a bunch of parks in that area or because we live close to that, it can work for us. But if we weren't that close to it, then maybe it wouldn't. And then, so being in some more tertiary markets is kind of working for us. And I think the fact that there is so many people not following through, they're putting deals under contract and they're not getting to the finish line. There's a lot of deals coming to us where they're just like, well, they can't take a chance anymore. Price is not the most important thing to them. Closing is.
No, understood. I actually have 2 properties that I've managed. I sold them 3 years ago, but I've managed them for the last 3 years, these guys. And I told them I didn't feel like doing third-party management anymore. So I told them, hey, start either find a new manager or sell them. And we got a good relationship and they've invested some of my deals. So I said, I'll give you some time. So it's been like 6 months of them. They finally got them under contract, tried to sell them. Both contracts are supposed to close by the end of the year. Both of them dropped at the last minute. So it's like, okay, they were going to get a good price, but it was a potential good price. It didn't happen.
Is it realistic? Yeah. And some of it's like tied to financing. The buyers need to get certain financing terms and they think they're going to get it. And then they have a reality check and find out they're not. Yeah. But, like one of the other reasons why we're winning deals too, and this is pretty important, is because I have a 25 years now in construction and construction management. So I'm willing to take on projects that a lot of other operators that don't have that like strong construction edge and they're more just like the business professionals wouldn't want to take on. Like I got no problems doing infrastructure work. I've got a park right now that we're doing tons of work to the sewer lines and sewer infrastructure. I'm willing to take on projects that a lot of other operators aren't. So that kind of helps as well.
That's a good point. I've told people that too. So we do a little bit of that ourselves too. Is like, I'll take on a deal. Like we just bought a deal that's 130 pads, but there's only 48 occupied. Well, that means you're not going to get an agency loan. You don't have enough occupancy. It's in Illinois, which a lot of people don't want Illinois because it's a blue state regulatory environment. It's got to be a local bank loan. So you got to be quasi-local. If you're going to get a bank loan, to get a local bank relationship, and you got to have a decent net worth and credit because you got to sign a recourse note. So there's a lot of people that just don't want to sign recourse notes or only do agency or only do 85% occupied or only do, the top tier cities or only do these states. So I think in a competitive environment, we need to set ourselves apart and what's your niche, and where are you at or geographically or the type of deal you'll tackle. I mean, I know some people that they specifically look for deals with private utilities, which most of us don't want deals with private utilities, but they specifically look for them because like, because most people don't, they're going to get them at a better price and they understand private utilities and underwrite the risk and the budget and operational expenses. And it's like, that could be their niche. And they're probably going to be ahead of the game if this works, because when all the parks have been bought and sold, they're all been bought, the ones that are going to be left are the private utilities. And then the rest of us are like, okay, I guess I'll take another look at that lagoon. But these other guys who've been doing it for 5 years will be like, well, we've been taking more risk for 5 years, but now we're ahead of the game.
Yeah. Private utilities, large amounts of park-owned homes, major value-add stuff with low occupancies and a lot of construction involved. Those are the sort of deals on the outside. We've got no problems taking on any of that. I'm not super keen on private utilities. We more lean towards the heavy construction, 50% to 80% occupied, things that are in tertiary markets doesn't bother me so much. As long as we feel like we've got the capacity to fill the lots through our test ads. And as long as we feel like we can, and more importantly, that we can pull the contractors we need to get the jobs done in those markets. Because sometimes it's harder to get contractors than it is to get tenants. Yes. Then we're game on and we do it. And, I am a very conservative underwriter, but I'm a very extremely aggressive manager and project manager. And we do all of our management in-house. We've got our own property management company, Innovate Collective. And, we knock out remodels like really quickly. Some parks will do 30 plus a year. One of the parks we did last year, we knocked out 9 remodels in 6 weeks. So, we take massive action and we do things really quickly and we get the people that we need to get in there. And I've had a lot of other operators that have said to me, Bryce, how do you do like 30 remodels at one park in a year? I'm like, dude, how do you not know how to do that? Especially when that's what you're projecting that you're going to do to your group, and your investors and everything like that. And they're trying to just figure out how it's possible. It's like, you just got to get in there and take massive action. There's no real secret to it.
Yeah. No, remodels, they're not for the faint of heart though. I was at a park, I was at 3 of my parks yesterday in mid-Missouri, and we just got 10 school building double wides for free from the school district, but there's just 4 walls. It's just 4 walls.
Okay. Yeah.
So we just ship them in, put the concrete in, install them, and then we got 4 walls. We got to put in plumbing. We got to put in interior rooms. We got to put in cabinets. We got to build a kitchen. We got to put in a bathroom, and they're all different sizes. They're all doubles with their different lengths, and some of them are 2-2, some of them are 3-2, some are going to be 4-2, depending on. But it's a big construction project to renovate all these.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been mostly trying to use. We got a good project manager in house, and trying to find local labor because it's cheaper than hiring professional contractors. But it's got its downsides versus hiring professional contractors. The upside, the better part, of course, is it's less expensive. But the downside is you're managing crews and misfits more than hiring a pro. What is your approach on when you're doing a remodel, a single remodel versus you got to do 20 of them? Are you hiring one crew, 5 separate crews going? Are you hiring, hourly laborers with an in-house supervisor or combination?
Our ideal setup on a small park is to have a maintenance manager who also doubles as a manager, because you can teach the management part, like on-site management part. You can't really teach the construction part. And then they can take care of the remodels, and they can do like 1-2 remodels a month, knock it out, cool pace. But if we've got a larger project, we actually have a construction crew that'll come in, that'll actually be part of the project, that almost, they do other jobs, but they're almost dedicated to us. And then they'll be just like knocking out tons of construction. And we'll even give them lawn mowing. We'll give them all sorts of different repairs and maintenance and remodels and tons of different work. And then even help them build their teams sometimes and be like, all right, you guys need like 5 or 6 more people. You need a couple more electricians and some more carpenters, another plumber, a roofer. And we can just like go out there, and our team actually helps them build their team. And we kind of like all work together in synergy to get the job done. They make tons of money. They're making money. They're making bonuses. Our managers are making sales bonuses. So they're all hungry to do it on the timelines that we want to do it on. And we just kind of like work in together and see how we can help each other. But it's a challenge to find those crews. Those people aren't everywhere. We have to go through tons of contractors. It's very disheartening. It's very disappointing. There's a lot of contractors who don't do what they say they're going to do, don't even show up. So, you got to sift through all the nonsense. And I think that's probably what takes a lot of people out. But if you're really, really persistent and you're looking for like the gems, once we get them, we just hold on to them, and we've actually brought them from park to park, moving around, taking them to here to there, just to keep them with us, really.
Yeah, no, that's great. We've had to do the same thing, because I've made that mistake early on where I needed a guy for 80 hours. So we had him for 2 weeks, and we don't have a new home yet, so go do something else. And the next day a pipe breaks. I need you today at midnight. He's like, oh, I'm out of town. I'm doing a roofing job 3 weeks for 3 weeks halfway across the country. It's like, crap. Like I learned, keep the good ones, keep them busy year round. So like, I'm going to find, like, before you're done, I got another home coming. Or if I don't have another home coming, like you're going to my parents' farm, you're painting fences for 2 weeks until we get the home in. Like you can count on us 40 hours. And we started limiting them. Like you only get 40. If we use 60, then you can run out of work faster. And thus we have tons of work. So we like 40, you can do other people's jobs nights and weekends, but we need you 40. We need you triage nights and weekends. And then it ended up working out well, and just keep the guy on the payroll forever. And he doesn't have to go bid jobs, or doesn't go, we have indoor work and outdoor work, so he used to have a job where if it rains, he doesn't get paid that day. So I've learned that keep the guys busy, keep them fed every day, and then they'll stick around, and it's a win-win.
Yeah. And it's an interesting industry, the construction industry, trades, blue collar workers. It's my personal prediction that I think in I don't know how many years, let's just say like 5 years, maybe 10 years time, they're going to be more like doctors and attorneys, where they're going to be the high income earners, because there's not that many people. There's not many millennials breaking into the place. There's tons of baby boomers that are getting out of the space. We've got supply chain issues where materials are like more expensive. There's problems hiring people all over the place, and specifically problems for people hiring good contractors to be in their companies. A lot of contractors, they're starting to become more and more entitled as we get along, and they're kind of cherry picking taking jobs, and it's becoming a very different industry. It's becoming much more in favor of them because they're in high demand and there's a low supply of them. And I don't see any indicators that let me believe that there's going to be an abundance of millennials that are going to come out and start joining the trades and start, plumbing and roofing and welding and all that kind of stuff. I just don't see that. So it'll be really interesting to see where the space goes and how expensive construction costs are going to be in the future.
I think you're spot on. I think the contractors have realized that we need them more than they need us. So the pricing is adjusted. I have an uncle who's a contractor, and he called it, how do you phrase it? I give him a bid price that says I don't want the work, but if you pay me this, I'll take the work. So he's like, if he's booked out for 3 months, somebody wants him to bid a bathroom remodel, they go look at it and it should be like a $3,000 or $4,000 job. He'll say $12,000. And most of the people will be like, I'm not gonna pay $12,000 for bathroom remodel, but every once in a while someone will say, okay, seems fair. And he's like, what? I'm gonna get $12,000 for bathroom? So he's like, okay, I can fit you in 10 days from now, and then bump the rest of the list. But he's like, and if you go do that 10 times, you might waste an hour 10 times. But if you get 1 out of 10, he goes, you're gonna get overpaid $8,000 or $9,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're the problem.
Yeah.
But you can't blame them.
But we have to work with it, and so we have to take these things into consideration if we're going to be wise and if we're in this for the long term.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Great tips. Well, this is good, Bryce. Late grad, we got to talk about these different topics. Anything else you want to cover? Any tips or tricks or experiences that you want to share with our audience?
I think, for the first time, people that are looking to break into this space, don't get caught up in wanting to know the ins and outs. As long as you understand the basic process of here's my criteria, here's how the purchase process works, and then here's how to close, and here's how to do your takeover. If you understand the main steps of that, you don't have to get granular about it. You have enough information to get started. And then if you can team up with somebody who's experienced, who's been doing it before, that can look over your shoulder, they can just look at your underwriting and say, yeah, there's a couple of red flags there. Let's look into these. You can get started. But I hear so many people who want to break into the space that want to understand everything first. By the time you figure it out, the opportunity is going to be gone. So you got to just take the first step. Don't worry about the second step. Once you do the first step, then you can think about the second step and the third step. And if I didn't follow that process, then there's no way I'd be standing here or sitting here talking to you today. And for everybody else who's experienced, I think, we've still got a good couple of years left of good mobile home park investing. I think that we're going to see a lot more increase in the demand for affordable housing, and mobile home parks are the biggest contributor to that. We still can't solve the problem because there's not enough mobile home parks to be able to solve that problem. But we're in a really good position for the next few years. And, the tax benefits that we can get in mobile home parks, we may not be able to get those in years to come. If they start changing the rules on depreciation, then we may end up having different tax benefits and everything like that. So this year is still a really, really good year to get into mobile home parks. Of course, I'm not giving any advice whatsoever. It's just it's for educational purposes only. But yeah, good time to enjoy the fruits of mobile home parks.
Absolutely. It's great stuff. Bryce, where can people find you if you want to reach out to your website or email or anything?
Yeah, you can go to our website, PropertyWorkzUSA.com. Works ends with a Z or a Z. You can also hit me up, Bryce at PropertyWorkzUSA.com, an email, and we'll get the conversation going.
All right, man. Sounds great, Bryce. Appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Mobile Home Park Lawyer Podcast with Ferd Neiman. Ready to learn more? Go to www.themobilehomelawyer.com for free resources and materials to help you succeed. If you love the podcast, go to Apple Podcasts, give us your review, and subscribe today. Thank you for listening. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri nor the Missouri Bar reviews nor approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.